welcome to this discussion. We are out in the open and I'm here to check. Yeah, so we're here to check what is this whole first time manager program piece. You know, how do we get a hang of it? What is the best way to conduct it, etc. Hi, I'm Subhashini and this is Ruben and we are here to talk about first time managers.
On the street.
On the street. I think the appraisals are over for most organizations and people have already figured out whom they want to promote. These first time managers, people who were till now only responsible for their own performance, are going to find it a bit difficult once they become team managers. What are those three things that we should consider so that we get this first time manager programs right?
Well, yes, it's quite adventurous. So equally, when you adventure to promote someone into a managerial position, what you are doing is you are taking a risk, or rather you are putting someone in lead of a team, and that's a big responsibility, both on the shoulder of the individual plus a big risk on the part of the organization. So how do you control this risk? How do you measure this risk? And how do you ensure that the risk is gives you positive dividends, right, Subhashini?
Absolutely. I remember that they put us through a standard program for first time managers, Ruben, and there was no customization, there was no understanding that are some of us just better at team management? Are some of us really gifted with analytics and planning, etc.? So those were things which I felt we lost out on.
Absolutely. So what we suggest, point number one, is that you should use some kind of a competency framework. We would of course suggest our own 7A's competency framework, which is a global framework and which divides individuals into three levels. The bottom level, or the starter beginner level, is the individual contributor level. This covers your goals and objectives, your value systems and adherence, your team player qualities, and your meeting expectations.
Right.
These are the four competencies that you require in an individual to perform in a team or even perform individually.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now the point is that when you get promoted to a manager, while these may carry on, and at least in our framework we carry forward meeting team expectations and team player qualities, we add in two new competencies to it. One is of course workplace management, which means not only managing the team, managing the whole structure of the workplace. The second is analysis and interpretation. As a manager, you need to deal with a lot of information and data, and you should have the capability to handle and manage that. So that's the first check, or point number one, to be taken care of.
I remember that the two things I really had trouble adjusting to. One was financially planning the P&L of my unit. So that was something which took a bit of getting a hang of. And the second thing I really found it a bit difficult was to, know my people. When you become a first time manager, suddenly you are supposed to know your team members, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly, and that brings us to point number two. Point number two is, are you putting the right manager on top of the team? Which means that teams are otherwise are different. Now, if we understand what the word team means or team member means, team member is not being in a team. Team member is being trustworthy enough to be called as a part of the team. A team member is being respectful enough about the team and also about the rest of the team. So one of the things to definitely check would be to see that what kind of a team are you putting this manager on, because beyond skills you do have the team's own structure. Say for example your own kids who love to go to hockey. Now they are very motivated to play hockey, though they may not have the complete skills. Similarly, sometimes team might be very, very motivated, which means you need an action-oriented guy to put them into the structure and ensure execution. Whereas in certain cases, you need a motivator, an influencer, who will push the team to do better where they have the skills but may not be motivated enough.
Absolutely. So, what really becomes important is, I guess, a gap analysis right in the beginning, which tells the organization that how to support this first-time manager. What are the places where this first-time manager really needs a leg up, right? I think the second thing becomes, and which I would have really liked, was if I could have understood something about my team members, some survey, etc., which could have given me a quick understanding of the interests, the way the team member thinks, what motivates that team member. It would really have made my life much better.
Absolutely, which is why we keep suggesting that if you want to understand the feedback of the team and not just only focus on the manager, one of the good ways is to have surveys run. You could have pulse surveys, you could have quarterly surveys, you could have value surveys or customized surveys to basically figure out how is the manager behaving vis-a-vis the team.
Another very interesting part which really helped me was that one of my managers actually sat me down and explained to me, like a mentor does, what are the signs of disengagement in people. Because once you become a manager, the way the people interact with you become very different from the way they used to interact with you when you were just their colleague. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. In fact, when you are aware of the gaps in the manager, and no one is a perfect individual, it would be much easier to hence look at the gap and suggest learning and development interventions. Now, once we do it by in a very scientific, in a very process-oriented method, by identifying the competencies and hence fulfilling those gaps, we would be doing a very targeted progression and development of the manager. What do you say?
Absolutely. I think that would help the manager start performing within the next 3 to 6 months itself as a manager. So self-performance also will not reduce and the team will also do better.
Exactly. So you need to, when you are looking at promoting people as first-time managers, as I mentioned, that there is already a lot of sensitivity with regard to the risk that you're putting in the individual, but this whole risk and sensitivity can be lowered down, can be measured, because you also understand when you have promoted someone, you have promoted them with quite good thoughts and you have seen what we call as high potential in them. But this high potential needs to be targeted, needs to be addressed and energized in the right direction. Absolutely, the right word is channelized.
Absolutely. So just to summarize, one is do a learning needs analysis for your first-time managers. Well, we always urge you to use the PEXI test competencies. Second is do look at learning interventions which are standard, of course, but also perhaps customized interventions, maybe mentoring. That's a huge leg up.
Absolutely.
And thirdly, do give the new manager some ability to understand his or her team more deeply.
By using the surveys.
Yes. By using surveys, at least, it will help them understand how to deal with each of these individuals in the best possible way and not take a year to deliver on their managerial duties.
Yeah, because finally you have to understand, as I mentioned, that sometimes teams might be completely different. So it's not that a single style may be appropriate for each team. It's not one size fits all. Or if you want to know more about it, and we look forward to hearing from you. We are very keen and feel very encouraged if our sessions are shared, subscribed, and if you can let us know what you want us to talk about in the future. Of course, we'll ensure that we are in a more quieter place in the future. With this, thank you and have a nice day.